You are Locked On Pistons Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Detroit on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, how about it? Back-to-back easy wins for the Detroit Pistons on the road. Statement wins at that. 114-104, the win over the Atlanta Hawks tonight. Welcome into a live Locked On Pistons Postcast. I am your host, Jake Riepma. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Riepma. This is Locked On Sports Detroit, and it is your post-game destination for live reaction shows, free and available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks, as always, for making this your post-game destination. Don't forget your favorite podcast now is a newsletter. That's right, we're introducing the Locked On Pistons daily newsletter. It's your one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage, and it's delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free right now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Pistons newsletter. Make sure you check out Locked On Pistons Daily with Kuka Hill. And don't forget to subscribe to Locked On Sports Detroit. We're getting closer and closer to 2,000 subscribers. And for that, we say thank you. What a night tonight, as the Pistons were dominant. And it was one of those kick your feet up and watch the Pistons cruise to victory. They imposed their will against the Atlanta Hawks. We'll talk about that. And I think this is a scary bunch when the Pistons are thriving and all cylinders the way they were this evening. So we'll talk about that. And of course, wrap it up with our studs and duds. That's all coming up on a live Locked On Pistons postcast. As always, we thank our presenting sponsor and today's sponsor making it possible. That's right. Give it up for Game Time. The Locked On Pistons postcast episode today is sponsored by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. What time is it? Game time. And where do we start in this one? Probably with Cade Cunningham, because once again, the heart and soul of this team, you saw him on NBA Tonight last night with the TNT crew. That was awesome. And he followed up Monday's performance, and really the whole team followed up Monday's performance with a really statement win in a team against a team like the Hawks that they'll be competing with for those final, we hope they'll be competing with for those final playoff spots, maybe even to get past the play-in spots. But this was a game in which the Pistons left no doubt of who the better team was on this very night. And add it to how well the Pistons are playing on the road. Back-to-back road wins, now 13-10 on the road, 23-21 on the season. And again, just so much to like about this performance. I thought defensively, they set the tone. And I keep going back to imposing their will, because that's what you saw from this Pistons team today. Yes, 1 through 5 on the starters, but also from the bench. Just guys coming in there, knowing their role, and making a positive impact on this game. A balanced attack, and everybody up in that plus sign that you want to see next to their name. Tobias Harris, plus 16. Ausar Thompson, plus 8. Off the bench, Simone Fontecchio, 13 points, plus 8. Paul Reed, plus 1 with the left-handed floater. 19 points for Malik Beasley off the bench, 7 of 14 from the floor, 5 of 11 from the long line. And even though the Hawks had a couple of highlight dunks, which you got to give Jalen Johnson some credit. That was one of the more impressive dunks you will see. He even lost it a little bit in his hands and gathered it up and still threw it down. But the Pistons never faltered in this one. They never, even when the Hawks would try to make a run, it just they maintained that double-digit win. And JB Bickerstaff and company has to be putting the film on after this one and saying, hey, this is what you guys are capable. This is the type of basketball when this team plays as a cohesive unit. And even Jalen Duren, he might have struggled a little bit defensively at the beginning of the game, but a couple of lob passes, throwing it down from Cade. That, again, was a scary, scary team that the Pistons showed tonight. And the rest of the NBA should be on notice that this is not the same old Pistons. Cade Cunningham is a bona fide superstar. He deserves to be an all-star. And a team that, by the record indications, you would think are, right along with where the Pistons are at in the Atlanta Hawks, Detroit came out and dominated. As always, we'll get to your comments, so make sure you use the comment function there on the live YouTube show. And you've probably noticed by now, we got a little mobile studio coming at you. We're not in the normal home studio, but hey, we're still bringing you the latest on the Detroit Pistons. And if you're catching the audio-only version, this is irrelevant. It does not even matter because you're catching the audio-only version. And it doesn't matter what the backdrop is. But the Pistons top the Hawks tonight, 114-104. What a start to the road trip as well, because when you look at this schedule and how important this road trip was, especially after the way the homestand ended with a disappointing loss at the hands of the Phoenix Suns, to come out on the road and to make a statement with the win over the Rockets on MLK Day. And that's a really good Houston Rockets team, second in the West, 107-96 in that game. And then to come out tonight against the Atlanta Hawks, and again, a team that's pretty close to where the Pistons are in the standings, and just cruise to that win. I know the final score was 114-104, so it's not going to look like a huge margin of victory, but at one point it was a 22-point fourth quarter lead. I feel really good about the performance that the Pistons put forth tonight. And then let's keep this road trip going with a game against the Orlando Magic, because again, those are teams that on paper you should be vying for those final playoff spots if things hold up the way the beginning of the season and to this point the season has come. So once again, Pistons beat the Atlanta Hawks 114-104. Cade Cunningham leads the way with 29 points. He was amazing once again tonight. He had the 10 turnovers, which you don't love to see, but 11 assists. And the ball is going through his hands. There's going to be some turnovers. That's going to happen, but in control for the majority of the game tonight, which you love to see. I also mentioned Ausar Thompson had some struggles offensively, but still did finish with 16 points. How about the defense he played on Trae Young? Now, Trae Young, obviously a bona fide superstar in the National Basketball Association. He's going to get his, usually not tonight, just 13 points. He was only 5 of 13 from the floor, 1 of 4 from the long line. And the way he was made uncomfortable throughout the course of this game, you attribute to the Pistons defense, and specifically Ausar Thompson, the way he shut him down. Isaiah Stewart was good off the bench, plus 11, had one of the more impressive blocks you will see, providing those good energy minutes off the bench. Good stuff from him. And again, just a lot of things to feel really good about from this Detroit Pistons team as a collective unit as a whole to get that second straight win on the road. The other thing I liked about this Pistons performance, it was a balanced attack. You had 3 of the 5 starters in double figures, and then 2 players off the bench in double figures. And Fontecchio having some fun when he makes those 3-pointers. You know, he's got the, very good, the Ignacio, Simone Fontecchio, and the 19 points from Malik Beasley as well, which I mentioned. 5 made 3-pointers for him. There was a little, in typical Malik Beasley fashion, I saw it going around on Twitter that he was mocking Trae Young a little bit. And, you know, some of the NBA heads saying it's a lot to see a bench player mocking a superstar like Trae Young, somebody like Malik Beasley that comes off the bench. And at this point, by now, from the amount of sample size we've seen from Malik Beasley, that's who he is. And again, I've talked about it in episodes past. Maybe you love it, maybe you don't, but he's going to bring that. He's going to bring the flair. He's going to bring the flair for the dramatic, and that's a part of his game. And it's great when he's making threes, and the Pistons are thriving at a high level and functioning the way they were tonight. But you open when you do that, you definitely open yourself up to be susceptible to when things aren't going well, to the opposition maybe having fun at your expense. And fortunately for the Pistons, that really hasn't happened yet. Of course, there's a lot of games to be played, but that was definitely something that was circulating around the Twitter sphere of the way Beasley was kind of taunting Trae Young there. But a lot of comments to get to. Don't go anywhere, because I already see the comments filling up in the comment section. That's coming up right next. I want to know from you what you thought of this performance. Were you as impressed as I was, and what stood out to you? Don't go anywhere. We're just getting started on a live Locked On Pistons postcast here on Locked On Sports Detroit. Huge shout out to Game Time for making today's episode possible. And by now, you know Game Time is the ultimate ticket app and the only ticketing app you ever need to get your butt to some live events. Listen, I know the way the NFL season ended for the Detroit Lions was disappointing, but that just means we switch gears to the National Basketball Association, to the National Hockey League. Maybe you want to get out to a Red Wings game. Maybe you want to get out to a Pistons game. Either way, for Little Caesars Arena, Game Time is the app you got to use. They have tons of features to help making the process of buying tickets so much easier. It takes the guesswork out of buying tickets to a game. I use Game Time all the time because I know I'm getting the lowest price possible. And as the day of the event gets closer and closer, that price goes down, down, down. Game Time's made it even easier to get your tickets to your favorite events with the new feature Game Time Picks. This feature filters out the fluff to show you only the incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of different tickets. I also love the all-in pricing feature. Make sure you toggle this in the app, but it gives you the bottom line. This feature tells you what you're going to pay with no surprise fees at checkout. It is the best. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create that account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, I always love when we've got a live audience getting their thoughts heard, and for that, we go right to the comments. Enjoying this Pistons 114-104 win over the Atlanta Hawks on a live Pistons postcast. Thanks, as always, for making us your post-game destination. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Rietma. Mark leads it off. Great defense tonight. Good win. However, Cade's lazy passes must stop. There were a couple, and the 10 turnovers are certainly a testament to that. There were a couple of times where Cade was in a bad spot, and that led him to turn the ball over. And I know we talked about this after the Rockets game because he had a lot of turnovers in that game as well, that we got to work on that. And I think he is. But again, that's something that for Cade Cunningham, it's you take the bad with the overwhelming amount of good. And I'm not saying I'm not condoning turnovers by any means, because I get it. They're there. But make no mistake about it, this guy is an all-star that's playing at a really high level. Rizzy Man says, LFG, great defense. Yeah, the Hawks were brutal tonight. I should have touched on that first. They shot so poorly from the floor, just 39 of 103. Not good. I mean, my goodness. That's just really, really bad. 6 of 38 from the three-point line, just struggling all night for the Atlanta Hawks. And some of that defense is a tribute to, or a testament to, how poorly they shot the basketball. So 37% from the floor, rounded up 38% on 39 of 103, and just 6 of 38 from the long line. Wow. I mean, you say that out loud and you think that is just tough to watch. And if you're a Hawks fan, you got to be going crazy. So that being said, I think, again, you can chalk some of that up to the nice defense played by the Pistons. Kenyatta Stovall says, what up, though? Nice win. Absolutely. What up, though? This Pistons team is a lot of fun. Got to give them a lot of credit. 2 games over 500, 23 and 21. And the road trip is off to a great start. Demetrius McNeil is a real one, checking in each and every episode. Never in my wildest dreams to see the Pistons team playing so well since winning 14 games last year. It seems to me Cade Cunningham played like an all-star. Indeed, he did. And Greg Kessler talks about this all the time, and so does George Blaha, for that matter. Cade Cunningham, make no mistake about it, is an all-star in the National Basketball Association. If he doesn't get it, it'll be a shame. But man, are the Pistons fortunate to have a superstar like Cade Cunningham. And I think he embodies what this team is, and his desire to be the hardest working player on the floor night in and night out really has a trickle down effect on the rest of the guys. And for that, I think he's the perfect superstar to have leaving this team. So it just, when he is at his best, and even tonight necessarily wasn't at his best, but my goodness, that's a guy that you want to be the face of your franchise. And it's fun watching Cade Cunningham night in and night out. User says ESPN standings updated and Detroit is in 6th place in the East. Playoffs, baby. Yeah, a lot of season left, but man, at this point in time, I had a buddy texting with me right now during the end of the game. He knows who he is. Shout out to Trevor Davis saying we should buy our playoff tickets right now. Let's pump the brakes a little bit, but I certainly do think this is a playoff caliber team. There is no doubt about it. And I'll take it a step further. If they play the way they did tonight, there's nobody that wants to see this Pistons team in the postseason, especially in the first round. That's for sure. Too many turnovers, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't disagree. Cade specifically, yes, a lot of turnovers there. And if the Hawks had played a better brand of basketball, maybe that comes back to haunt the Pistons. But as a team, you get the 10 turnovers from Cade and 3 turnovers from Beasley. So 13, 4 from Duren. That's 17, 2 from Hardaway, 19, and 1 more from Tobias Harris. So 20 total turnovers for the Detroit Pistons, which again, you don't love, but if you flip it aside and look at the team stats off of those turnovers and were the Hawks able to take total advantage of it? Not necessarily, because according to ESPN stats and information, the points conceded off of turnovers, the Pistons conceded 23 points, which isn't a great number. You would like that to be lower, but again, not necessarily detrimental. And the 114-104 margin of victory is certainly proof of that. 3M, Mr. Wright, great win. Didn't like the last 2 minutes or the back-to-back 10 turnovers from Cade. Yeah, and I noticed that too. I was kind of going back and forth. Do I want the headline to be, easy dub? Because it was easy for about 47 minutes tonight. There was maybe a minute. Okay, maybe that's an exaggeration. I'll say 44 minutes where it did feel like it was easy. Blaha and Kessler even talked about that Cade was making it look easy. The rest of this Pistons team was making it look easy. And yes, it's the NBA. Everybody's going to make a run. So there was a time where it got a little bit closer. But overall, I never, and maybe I'm wrong with this, and somebody can tell me in the comments, but I never felt like the Pistons were in danger of losing this game. From the very jump, if you want to go back quarter by quarter, you look at the Pistons having a 10-point lead after 1, and then an 18-point lead going into the halftime break. They outscored them by 4 more going into the fourth quarter. So again, a 22-point lead going into the fourth quarter. And were they out? Yeah, they're outscored by 12 in that fourth quarter frame, but 22 points, third quarter lead going into the fourth, you feel pretty good. You should win that. You should win 100% of those games, and the Pistons held on for the win. They shot at 50% from the floor, 35% from 3, and again, the 21 turnovers, not ideal, but all is well that ends well. You guys know that's one of my favorite go-tos there. Kenyatta Stovall watching the Hawks presser. All right, they sad. Yeah, they should be sad because they just got work tonight. Here's some love for Fontecchio from 3, Mr. Wright. I agree. Fontecchio was good. What was his exact line? Because I know he made a couple of 3-pointers there, but Simone Fontecchio in 16 minutes, 4 of 8 from the floor, 3 of 5 from distance, 2 of 2 from the stripe, added 2 assists to go along with 13 total points. He was +8. So you like that from Fontecchio. Cade took Trae to school. Indeed, he did. Trae Young, and we're talking about his energy level. Trae Young, he just looked out of gas. And you wonder what attributed to that if you're the Atlanta Hawks, because you're at home, and I know they had to play tomorrow. But tonight was their first night of the back-to-back, and they hadn't played since Monday, same day the Pistons did. So maybe, there's a concerted effort to try to save some gas in the tank for tomorrow with the back-to-back, but we're just making excuses for the Hawks at this point. I just think they didn't have it tonight. And again, yeah, like this comment suggests, Cade schooled Trae Young. There is no doubt about it. Hawks broadcast team was praising the Pistons all night. That's cool. On the League Pass, which shout out to League Pass. They locked me out of my account to start this game. So full disclosure on that one. I missed some of the first quarter. Don't worry. I sent a very angry email. Whatever reason, it wasn't recognizing my account. It was the most frustrating thing. So I did, full disclosure, miss a couple of minutes at the beginning, but you can watch on League Pass either team's broadcast. About 85 to 90% of the time I choose the Pistons, but it is sometimes good to get the opposing team's perspective from their broadcast team as well. Okay. That being said, I appreciate everybody tuning in on the live YouTube show. It's always great to be victorious it's always great to have a victorious post-game show like we have tonight after a 114-104 win. Favorite part of the program, we wrap it up with studs and duds, and I want to hear from you. Let me know your studs and duds in the comments. I'll give you mine. That's coming up next. Don't go anywhere. It's a live Locked On Pistons postcast. All right, studs and duds portion of the program. Getting right into it. As always, audience participation strongly encouraged because that's what we are here on Locked On Sports Detroit. And that is why you subscribe, because we're taking your comments, your opinions, your analysis, and adding it to the show as well. And that includes the studs and duds portion. I think you know who my first stud is tonight. It's real simple. It's Cade Cunningham, 29 points. And I know the 10 turnovers aren't great, 11 assists. But my goodness, he is the heart and soul of this team. He's the lifeblood of this team. 12 of 19 from the floor, a couple of buckets that made it easy, a couple of lob passes, and impressive assists. I'm thinking specifically of the one to Jalen Duren that he just lobbed it up for him, which was awesome to see. So I'm going to go ahead and give him a stud with 29 points on the evening. Tremendous job by Cade Cunningham. With Cade out of the game, the rest of this team stepped up. In fact, they played really well. They were plus 13 with Cade out of the game actually tonight. So the rest of the supporting cast really good. And that includes the bench. 19 points from Malik Beasley off the bench on 5 of 11 shooting from 3-point land, and Simone Fontecchio adding with 13 points. He was +8 as well. So both those guys contributing in a big way off the bench. Isaiah Stewart was good off the bench. Throw Ronald Holland into that as well. And you've got yourself a productive bench. Marcus Sasser and Paul Reed just to round it up. So stud for the bench as well. Dud. Oh yeah. This feels very gratifying to say that Trae Young was a dud tonight. -5, just 13 points for him. Did have 9 assists, but 1 of 4 from the 3-point line, and overall from the floor, 5 of 13. He just didn't look like himself out there, out of sync the whole night. And I think the defense from Ausar Thompson and the rest of the supporting Detroit Pistons had a lot to do with that. All right, who else we got? This is from Kenyatta Stovall. Harris dud, 37 minutes, 9 points, 2 rebounds. Yeah, Tobias was not good tonight. And the buddy I was texting with, my guy Trevor Davis, saying, he just takes so many contested mid-range jump shots, which analytically are not a great, there's not a lot of value in that. If it's contested, it's a difficult shot. Plus that portion of the court, you're either taking in today's NBA, a shot around the rim or a 3-point shot. But yeah, he really struggled tonight, and hopefully he bounces back because it seems like he gets in these funks that you just wish he could be better for sure. And then we've got Fontecchio as a stud, same from Kenyatta. Appreciate that. Hardaway as well. Yeah, I think Tim Hardaway, he's sometimes has those games where he does just enough to kind of blend in, but makes enough winning plays. And he was +16 tonight and just did a solid job defensively. Also added the 9 points with 2 made 3-pointers, 3 of 7. So it wasn't anything crazy, but knowing his role and delivering in that role, a big part of it. And you saw that tonight from Tim Hardaway Jr. So all in all, hey, this road trip off to an amazing start, 2-0 on the road trip. Big wins over Houston on Monday and following it up with a win over the Atlanta Hawks this evening. Don't forget, you can find today's episode on the Locked On Pistons platform, free and available wherever you get your podcast. And up next for the Pistons, they will be on the road against the Orlando Magic and then close out this road trip first against the Cavaliers and then the Indiana Pacers. So two games out of the road trip and then 3 more to go. So 2 games into the road trip, probably a better way to say that, and 3 more to go. Magic, Cavaliers, and Pistons. Pistons Magic, 7 o'clock Saturday night is our next Locked On Pistons postcast. Hope you'll join me for that. Hope you'll subscribe to Locked On Sports Detroit because, hey, this is your post-game destination. Don't forget about the Pistons newsletter on LockedOnDaily.com. Don't forget about Locked On Pistons with Ku Kahil. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Locked On Pistons postcast. As always, I sincerely appreciate each and every one of you choosing to spend a little time with me after the game and your post-game destination. It means a lot. It means a lot to me. Those that don't know, is that 97 won the ticket for a while and doing a lot of Pistons post-game shows, Tigers post-game shows, Red Wings post-game shows, and it's a joy to continue covering the teams that I love. That's why we do it here on Locked On Sports Detroit. Shout out to the everydayers. And as always, if you want to keep the conversation going on the comments on the YouTube community, I hope to continue posting stuff on the Locked On Sports Detroit community because I love interacting that way as well. That's going to do it for me. Thanks so much. As always, my name is Jake Rietma. Have a wonderful night, and let's keep this going on the road for the Detroit Pistons. The 5-game road trip off to a tremendous start, 2-0, and that includes tonight's 114-104 win over the Atlanta Hawks. We'll talk to you Saturday night on the Locked On Pistons postcast here on Locked On Sports Detroit.